Welcome back to Flick Favorites. I'm going to explain an action, mystery, thriller film from 2023, titled, Hypnotic. Spoilers ahead. Enjoy the content. Danny Rourke is shown jerking back to reality at the start of the film after being absorbed in the situation he is in. In order to determine whether Danny can resume his police work, he is currently in his therapist's office for yet another required evaluation. He complies with the therapist's instruction to talk about the worst day of his life and the occasion for his being in this space. A few years back, he and his little daughter Minnie were enjoying themselves in a local park on a sunny afternoon when he briefly lost focus. During this period, Minnie was taken away from the scene and was never heard from again. He also held Lyle Terry, a young man, since he had reason to be suspicious of him. But Lyle just kept saying that he wasn't guilty because of his mental disorder and that he didn't remember Minnie. Danny has been unable to go on in life despite the passage of time and the lack of proof. Nevertheless, the therapist has finally approved him for service. After the cops receive a tip about a potential theft, Danny meets up with Nick and travels to a nearby bank. Given that two other locations of the same bank had already been robbed, Nick's story further adds to the mystery surrounding this call. Only one safety deposit box, however, had been taken. The two police detectives arrive at the bank and use their surveillance team to keep an eye on the situation when they see an odd thing. A guy starts to acquire control of many individuals merely by his words in order to generate commotion, rob the bank, and ensure his safety. In his haste to apprehend the suspect, Danny runs into the financial institution and enters the locker room, where he finds the safe the suspect is planning to loot. Inside the box, Danny finds a picture of his daughter Minnie and a note instructing him to find Lev Del Reyne. The man from the video goes back outside and hypnotizes the receptionist while keeping the image to himself. He is a hypnotist by the name of Del Reyne, and he has mesmerized everyone in the bank. He has, however, already taken the information out of the box and given the front desk clerk a bomb. Danny chases Del Reyne till they meet on a building's top. Del Reyne acknowledges hypnotizing two cops, who then killed one another. When he runs away once more, Danny is angry. Knowing that Del Reyne is probably the kidnapper of several people, Danny and Nix quickly locate the anonymous caller who had provided a tip to the police during the bank robbery. They then travel to the psychic Diana's office. Danny hurries straight to Diana's residence, paying no longer any attention to the police procedures. The woman tells the detective that she had thought about calling the police after hearing about the bank robbery from a client. Before anything further can be said, Del Reyne shows in and tries to use one of her clients to have Diana killed. It is now known that Del Reyne is a gifted psychic with the ability to easily sway people's minds and manipulate them to do his bidding. He controlled security personnel, bank employees, and even a bystander to take the box during the bank thefts. But for Del Reyne, the most significant item was the picture of Minnie that was meant to be inside but is now with Danny. As a result, he is now chasing Danny. When the lady herself tells Danny about a top-secret federal agency called the Division, she discloses both her own and Lev Del Reyne's actual professions. The purpose of the U.S. government's covert program for those with rudimentary psychic abilities was to further expand their capacity for mind control, which is quite self-evident. Diana was a member of a group that the government organized and used mind control to resolve political disputes. Another person in the group, Del Reyne, had received his training at the Division. The man, though, was by far the group's strongest psychic. Due to his obsession with the idea of unrestricted mind control, Del Reyne outgrew his training and sought to take over the Division alongside several of the other agents, including Diana. She left the Division and broke off all ties to the gang since she thought Del Reyne would soon go. In spite of Danny's initial denial of any of these supernatural telepathic powers, she shows off her skills by controlling Nick. Nick is finally shot dead by Diana after being under the influence of Del Reyne, who also shows up at the police station. The hotel staff recalls them whenever they stay there. The manager is now hypnotized by Diana, and they run away. She hypnotizes a policeman while waiting outside. When they emerge, the officer has caught up with them. Danny becomes aware of this and runs away, hiding in the middle of a train. Even though he could see the trains moving about, he was only seeing it in his brain. As two cops and Delrain search for him, Diana shows up with a vehicle and murders the officers. As soon as Danny sees Delrain go, they both run away. Diana thinks Danny has an uncontrollable power that he is unaware of when he tells her what occurred. She takes him to visit a former division co-worker who has since moved to Mexico. It is he who tells that Delrain is hunting for something known as Project Domino. The division had developed a lethal tool that could be used to hypnotize anybody at any time with the most potent hypnotics. After taking the domino and hiding it, Delrain cleared his mind so that no one could find it. But first, he must figure out where he hid the weapon, so he will lay some clues or triggers for his mind to pursue and find the domino. Diana comes to the realization that Delrain was also influenced by the man who was teaching them everything. Once Delrain gets there and verifies it, Danny murders the man and flees on a bike. They wind up stuck, nevertheless, in a place where several cops, led by Delrain, are seeking to capture them. When Danny stares the cops in the eyes, they apprehend Delrain rather than him. Diana discovers Danny has peculiar skills. The bank safes and the several photographs, in their opinion, are all visual cues that Delrain needs in order to remember the position of the hidden site. Delrain is apparently looking for the images because of this, and if he finds Domino, the division will be annihilated. For this reason, she keeps helping Danny since she has to protect her prior team and herself, and she eventually takes Danny to another coworker, River. With River's assistance, Danny learns that his wife Vivian is also a member of the division via this talented hacking colleague. Danny was taught to believe and remember that he and Vivian had fallen in love in college, therefore he had no idea of this his entire life. He recalls their marriage falling apart after Minnie got kidnapped, and no trace of her could ever be located after they married and had a family together. Delrain makes another effort to enter Danny's head in order to persuade him to kill Diana, but by this time he has realized that he must be wary about trusting anything that happens to him. Danny maintains his composure and leaves the room, using River's computer to look up information on himself and Vivian. Finally, the actual truth comes to light. Danny was once a psychic for the division, but his memory had been erased, and he had forgotten everything. His wife Vivian was actually Diana, who was still a division member, and she had been utilizing her mind control skills to place him in fake situations all this time. Delrain, Danny's longtime foe, was in fact the head of the division. He participated in the endeavor to get information from the individual as well. When Danny and Diana gave birth to their daughter Minnie, it was found that the child has amazing psychic powers that could be used to influence anyone's thoughts in any circumstance, even the most potent psychics. Domino, the treasured asset that everyone at the division was looking for, was really Minnie. She was seen as a weapon that the government might deploy due to her extraordinary ability. Diana was prepared to let this research be done on her child, but Danny was not. He knew that Minnie would soon be taken by the division, and it was he who had tucked Minnie away and cleared his own head. He knew the division would arrive at this moment looking for Domino, so he took one more security measure to make sure no one could read his mind or take control of it and discover the girl. Even though every encounter Danny has had and everything we have seen so far is fascinating, they were all created in the man's head. The plan was that Danny would recall where he had hidden his daughter when he saw Minnie's picture and the words "Find Delrain," which he had written before clearing his memory. Unaware that he was in a simulation, Danny would surely make an effort to find Minnie, which would give the division the opportunity to figure out where their Domino was and take control of her. After Danny learns all this, his memory is wiped clean once more, and the simulation has already been performed on him 12 times without success. The division is unaware that Danny had put in place a series of triggers that gradually compelled him to remember details from the prior simulation, which allowed him to break free of the loop on the 13th run. After discovering that the phrase, "Find Delrain," was an anagram for Deer Valley Lane, where he had hidden his daughter Minnie, Danny drives away from the division's headquarters. With the help of their entire team of psychics and soldiers, the division learns about this knowledge as well and locates Danny. For the last 2 years, Danny had kept Minnie with Carl and Thelma, his adopted parents. The site is clear-cut since it is remote and far from the community, but the 2-year timeframe will remain a mystery until another significant discovery. Danny and Diana disagreed with the division sending their child away for school, but they lacked the stamina to fight the squad. The only way the pair could stop the division from exploiting their daughter's powers was to eliminate every participant in the program, but they needed Minnie's exceptional skills to pull it off. Danny orchestrated the child's kidnapping and concealed her in Carl and Thelma's house because the girl needed 2 more years to hone her skills because she was so young at the time. The husband was later captured by the division, but the wife remained a part of the clandestine operation after Danny and Diana wiped their memories. Currently, Minnie is using her abilities to revive Diana's memories while also directing every soldier in the division to commit suicide. They are far away, in the middle of a desert, and the entire situation at the farmhouse is an illusion that Minnie concocted. Now Del Rey, or the director, does all in his power to stop the family from healing the rift, but his efforts are unsuccessful after Minnie persuades him to commit suicide. Danny, Diana, Minnie and Thelma fly out in one of the helicopters as the family is reunited and comfortable in their new life free from the division's control. Carl promises to join after he has cleaned up the entire body mess. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to stay updated on future videos. Leave a like to support the channel.